is that the UUCR annual meeting will be held on Sunday, February 26th. I'm going to say that again, Sunday, February 26th. And that's going to start at 11:15 a.m. right here in the sanctuary. The annual meeting includes the election of board members, board officers, leadership council members at large, and the nominating committee members. We encourage everybody to attend, and we must have a quorum of members here to vote. Meeting notice letter with the election slate will be mailed to all church members this coming week. The next announcement is that you are all invited to sing with the ensemble for the Stewardship Gala program. It's going to be called Creating Our Future Together, and that's the theme of this year's stewardship campaign. In that spirit, the Stewardship Committee and the choir would love your participation in our closing song for the evening's musical entertainment. Children's age 6 and up are welcome and are encouraged to join. No experience needed, just a desire to be part of creating a little bit of fun for tonight and participating in the uplifting musical finale together. You can email Cynthia Young at cynthia@uureston.org. Or sign up at the sheet in the foyer for this. We hope you'll join us for this joyous singing experience. The last announcement, I'm going to tack one on myself. April 22nd, that's a Saturday, we are planning on having a UUCR camping event. So myself and Amy Anderson, I'm going to throw your name on there, Craig, too. We're part of, and Maggie, we're part of planning this. So if you have any questions, please come see us. But what we're looking at doing is we have a large campground site reserved at Lake Fairfax, just next door. Families welcome, bring a tent. And we'll have sign-ups and more information as we get closer to that. But I just want to throw that to everybody's ear. Again, April 22nd. So now is the time for us to center ourselves for worship. Please take some deep, quieting breaths with me, please. Let us enter a time for worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude.
Good morning. I think we should have said, as we all participate in and sing along with this morning's prelude. So we're celebrating Valentine's Day and love in all its many forms this week. So we're going to do a little bit of sign language to the song coming up, so American Sign Language. So the first thing I'd like us to sign together is I love you. So you're just going to point to yourself, I love, you're going to cross your fists over your heart, and you, just point out. That's lovely, so let's do that all together. Ready? Lovely. So I imagine that many of you know the song L-O-V-E. We're going to sing it together and sign the letters. So let's practice that really quickly. L, you're going to just go like that. Curl your little fingers down. O, you make a circle. V and E, your fingers go down and your thumb comes across to make a little E. Excellent. And we're also going to do the word love, like we did already, and also the word heart. And this is just, you're going to draw a little heart on your chest. If you don't know the song, you can just listen and do the motions along with us. But if you know it, please do join in. Is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. B is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. Excellent. One more time. Here we go. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love, is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. It's very true for me and you.
What a super Sunday! No, not for football, for us here in this arena of human aspiration and hope. It's super to be back together again. Let us not fumble for the words to express our gratitude for this place. For here we cheer each other along, tackling the large and lasting questions of humanity, receiving hope and inspiration from our UU faith, defending every precious goal, never penalizing ourselves with debilitating shame and guilt. For even as we take time out to celebrate the manifold richness of life in one another, I don't know about you, but I'm bowled over by the prospects before us this morning. You'll forgive me for this later. And for all the spiritual possibilities that lie before us today. For this is our spiritual home, and it's super to be back together again. Welcome.
Opening hymn this morning is number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. So please rise in body or spirit and join us. Thee we raise this our hymn of grateful
Sweet. For the chalice lighting this morning, we have Special Words, Daybreak by Robin F. Gray. Day breaks on our gratitude for family and friends, for the freedom to find our own truth, for the company of those who gather here, and the promises we offer one another. Go ahead. Let the light of day bring the grace of faith into our lives. And also today is a special occasion because 6 years ago today, this little thing right here was dedicated right over there.
At UUCR, we have a tradition of singing our covenant together every Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church. If you are at home on Zoom, we hope you will be singing along. The words will be in your chat box. Here in the sanctuary, we'll remain seated to sing our covenant. If you are visiting this morning for the first time, we hope you will accept this song as our blessing to you.
Now is the time for all ages. So if you're feeling young of body or young of spirit, I invite you to come down forward. There's room on the floor, and if you prefer a chair, there's lots of space up front in the first row. Well, welcome. Our story this morning is inspired by Charlotte Zolotov and many more. Once upon a time, not so far away or so long ago, there was a family with 2 adults, Drew and Jerry, 2 children, Amari and Kai, and 1 dog, Fluffy. One morning, Drew got up late and grumpy and quickly got dressed, grabbed the laptop, and ran out the door. By that time, Jerry was pouring cereal in the kitchen and looked at the door and said, "No goodbye? No good morning? No kiss? What?" At that moment, Amari came to the kitchen, and Jerry said, "Go wake up Kai, and then hurry and eat your cereal. You're both going to be late to school." Well, Amari had been really excited about a special project at school and was so happy. But now, Amari just stepped to Kai's room, banged on the door, and then when there was no answer, threw the door open and said, "Get up, you lazy good-for-nothing. You're going to make us both late." Well, Kai woke up startled and started to cry, and Amari said, "Stop crying and stop being a baby," and then stomped away. Well, Kai shouted after Amari, "Nobody likes you. I hope everyone makes fun of you at school." How are they all feeling? Yeah?
Grumpy.
Grumpy?
Bad. They don't want, one of them doesn't want to miss school, the other one doesn't want to be treated badly.
Yeah, they're feeling bad and grumpy and sad, yes. But finally, they were all ready, and Jerry, Amari, and Kai left. On the way to work, Jerry stopped to get coffee. And the barista smiled and said, "Good morning." And Jerry said, "I'm late. Hurry up." Well, the barista smile dimmed, and they bumped into someone else behind the counters in their rush. At school, Kai was greeted happily at the door by a substitute teacher and said, "I hate substitutes. This is going to be a terrible day." So how do you think everyone in the class started feeling after that? They're sad. They were all started getting grumpy and sad too. We'll have more time. Then Amari went to class and they had their special project, and Amari was going to work with all the friends. But when they suggested their ideas, Amari said, "That's stupid. I don't want to do that." And how would they feel?
They felt very sad.
Yes, and they all started arguing with one another, and Amari's very best friend stopped talking to them. Well, that was sounding like a pretty bad day, didn't it? It was about time to go back home, and Kai was the first one there. Stomped up to the house, opened the door, and there was Fluffy. Fluffy was jumping up and down, wagging its tail, had a ball in the mouth. And Kai had felt like yelling, but leaned down, patted Fluffy, took the ball, and tossed it. And at that moment, Amari came in, and Kai tossed the ball to Amari. Amari had been unhappy, but then said, "Oh, I'm sorry that I yelled at you and called you a baby. I'm glad you're part of our family, and I love you." And Kai said, "Well, I love you too, and I like playing games like this with you." And they noticed that the kitchen was a mess, and they put away the cereal and loaded the dishwasher. And just at that moment, Jerry came in the door, saw that, and said, "Thank you so much for helping. I love you both so much. I'm sorry I yelled this morning." Drew came in, and Jerry rushed to Drew, gave Drew a big hug and kiss, and said, "I love you. Thank you so much for everything that you do for our family. And I'm sorry I was upset this morning because you didn't say goodbye, but we were both in a rush." Drew drew Amari and Kai into this big hug and said thank you to all of them for being part of this wonderful family and working together and having fun together. So how do you think they were feeling then?
They were all happy again.
Happy.
And together and excited.
Happy and excited.
And they feel better.
They all felt better. So just like the grumbles that were contagious and spread from person to person, the gratitude, or saying thank you and appreciating each other, also spread from person to person. And I wonder today how you will each spread gratitude today and throughout this week. And in your order of service, you can see a way that you might do that. There is a thank you to you, and then there is a blank card that you can write or draw something on and give it to someone else to thank them. And we'll be talking about this more downstairs. So let us sing the children out with Go With Joy, which should be projected here.
I'm going to get one of those cards.
You can get one from your parents.
Good morning. Good morning. Again, it's so fun when you're like almost halfway through the service and you can still say good morning and maybe expect something back from people. So, good morning. Thank you. Craig and I are here to talk to you this morning about stewardship.
Well, that's the end of that.
Is it? Okay, no, it's still good. Today we are giving our first testimonial for what it is that stewardship is, why why we have the campaign, what it means to be a steward of this church, and what you'll be seeing over the next couple of weeks and can expect coming up. So our theme that Jesse mentioned this morning is creating our future together. And I think that's a wonderful theme for our church because so many of us have so many different talents, abilities, treasures, and time and energies that we can give. And it takes all of us to make this church be and live and do the work that we do. And I think that her stewardship campaign can be kind of confusing, especially for people who are newish to either our church or our tradition. So I thought we'd kind of kick off today talking about some of the confusion around stewardship. But the word stewardship itself means taking care of something. So that's what our goal is in the campaign, is to take care of our church. So we are going to have a stewardship gala coming up March 18th. It's been in the e-blast. We mentioned it this morning. We're inviting you to sing with us. We're going to have amazing performances. I'm a little biased, but we are also going to have some amazing performances from professionals to come in, and it should be a really, really fun night. And that night will be the night that we can make pledges. So Craig, what was it that you felt is confusing, or that you think is something important for them to know about stewardship?
Well, I have 3 pages of notes, so I'm not sure where to start. But I do have one question first. So, like, if we haven't actually, like, finished our pledge for this year, or, like, maybe we haven't paid for our auction bill yet, is there still time to do that?
Of course.
Could you hold this for just a second?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll hold you. Oh.
We might have forgotten the auction.
Oh, you can always give the check. That's a great thing to do.
All right, now I feel better. So I remember when we first came to church here, it was almost 10 years ago. You can't keep that for yourself. And, you know, my wife and I had 2 young children, and we were looking for a place for them to learn about different religions and set a foundation for the faith that may serve them one day as they grow up. And my daughter Zia is here today. And my wife found UCR, and she really liked it, and she brought Zia along, and she brought Rigel along, and then they let me come after they'd all decided. And we found our new home here, and I remember this was just such a welcoming community. People knew our names, they knew our children's names. There's a wonderful RE program. They were able to learn about all these different religious traditions and faiths. The services were very diverse. But I'll tell you, the stewardship was a little bit baffling for us because we hadn't been at church for a long, long time. And Amy and I came from very different religious foundations. I was Lutheran and she was, well, she probably wouldn't want me to say. But you can ask her about it sometime. It was traumatic. So, you know, we were not sure, like, well, how much do you give? We already had our household budget. Where does this money come from? And we actually had a visit from the president of the board to help us with our decision-making at home, so, like, no pressure there. And so we decided, and we began to give, and we pledged in that first year, and we thought, okay, good, we're good to go. But every week that offering plate still came around. We're like, well, now we've already made our pledge, so, you know, we weren't quite sure what that was about. And then we also realized, boy, there's a lot of jobs that need to be done around the church. And so we got our act together, and we realized that the weekly offering was for a different purpose, and we began to contribute to that as well, to support the different needs that are ongoing in our community and different causes each week. And then we both began to volunteer in different ways. And so we understand how it works now, and we really came to understand that, like, there is no source of funding for this church except for us. I mean, it truly is our church. You know, we are the hands, the heart, the voice. It's up to us to make it what we want it to be in the future, and we have to support that future financially to the degree that we can, and everyone has different situations. Some people support more through volunteering, and some people it's just about coming to church, and that's fine too. Everybody's welcome. This is an especially awesome year because, well, first of all, when we first came here, we were in an interim ministry. We had no idea who the next minister would be. And some people were like, well, we're going to wait. We're going to hold back. We're going to see, you know, do we like the new minister? Do we like the new sermons? And we like Reverend Scott, by the way. I see you looking at me. But
I don't know if our new minister is going to come in and throw a yellow flag on the ground.
No, that was pretty cool. If anybody throws a flag now, I'm going to take it as going over time.
Yeah, yes.
But what I wanted to say was that this is not the time to sit back and wait. I think this is our time to lean in because the future is going to be whatever we make it. If people want to know what's next, it's what we make it. That's what's next. So, whoever the new minister is, this is the church. We are the people. And so we're going to lean in a little bit more this year. We're going to add a little bit to our pledge to the degree that we can. If you're in a position to do that, that would be fantastic. We have been running a deficit the last few years with COVID and everything else going on. The expenses are the same, but the revenue is not. The rentals are down, the pledges are down, people's circumstances have changed. So if you're someone who can contribute a little bit more this year, that would be awesome. If you can volunteer for something new, that would be fantastic. And no matter who you are and what you can do, please know that you're welcome here. So, thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Again, the Stewardship Gala is coming up March 18th. And that day, we hope to watch as our pledges grow that night. So come, make your pledge that night. Between now and then, talk to your partner if you got one. Look at your bank account. Think about what can I truly pledge to give next year in any kind of a realistic and meaningful way to support the good work of this church. So thank you for giving us your time this morning, Craig and I. If you have any questions about stewardship, about the program, the system, how it works, come talk to us.
Thanks. Sure. So now is the time in our service when we share our joys and concerns as a community so that no one has to hold them alone. If you're joining us remotely, which about 50 people are this morning, you may wish to light a real or a virtual candle wherever you are to mark what is on your heart. As members of the present congregation, if they choose to, come forward and take a stone for each joy or sorrow or concern they have and place it in the vessel which holds so much of our love and concern. And if you want to take a stone from around the bowl to remind you this week of what's on your heart, please do so. And if those of you at home would like to share in the Zoom chat what is on your heart, do so, but please remember that that then becomes public. Let our ritual of joys and sorrows now begin. And before we say our prayer together, because of the terrible earthquake in Turkey and Syria, we are gathering money today in a basket which is on the table right outside in the foyer. It says earthquake relief. It will go to the International Rescue Committee. They already have a fund set up. This money is going directly to the people of Turkey and the people of Syria. You know the magnitude of the crisis there. So if you can drop a check or cash into that basket, or if you wish to mail a check into the church in the next 7 or 8 days, please do so, and we'll send all of that money to the International Rescue Committee. So let us now join together in prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love that so faithfully animates this creation, we are grateful for this community which is with us in both times of joy and sorrow, and we hold in our hearts all, anywhere in the world this morning, who are facing hardship or difficulty, those who are grieving, facing illness or disability in themselves, or those around them. And our hearts especially go out to the countless thousands of people in Turkey and Syria, hundreds of thousands, who are suffering so terribly following this earthquake in such cold weather. Whether shared here this morning or held silently in our hearts, may our joys be multiplied in community, and may all who gather here find comfort and calm. Amen.
The second Sunday of each month is our dedicated offering to an organization chosen by the Social Justice and Action Committee. All of today's offerings, except for pledge payments, which if you are submitting one, please make sure that on your check you write the words pledge, make sure it's known, will be going to this organization. Today's selection is the Herndon Reston Fish. Herndon Reston Fish is a non-sectarian, nonprofit organization providing friendly, instant, sympathetic help to Herndon and Reston residents in short-term financial crisis. As a Connections for Hope Partnership member, Fish works closely with the social workers from Fairfax County, local hospitals, and other nonprofit organizations. Every year, Fish helps thousands of predominantly very low-income families and individuals in all demographic categories by providing assistance in paying rent, utility, medical expenses, household items, and other short-term emergency needs. You may make your donation in the link in the chat box and also in the the one provided in the order of service. Make sure when you do this that when entering your donation, you select the Charity of the Month drop-down box on the donation form. You can also write a check to UUCR with the words FISH in the memo line, and also put that in an offering basket or mail it into the church. And of course, cash is always welcome and accepted. Thank you for your generous support of this important community organization.
I would like to begin this morning on this Sunday when I'm focusing on the spiritual quality of gratitude with you by taking a brief spiritual inventory of some of the simple things in my life that when I truly stop to just think about it, I am truly grateful for as a human being. The litany of everyday gratitude I'm about to give voice to is, of course, my own. But my hope is that you will recognize some of these things from your own life. So here is what, stripped to its essentials, my life is like on this ordinary, if yet anticipatorily soggy day, February in the year 2023 is all about. I woke up this morning. How about that for a good deal? Huh? Amazing start. For as far as I'm concerned, just finding myself alive and sentient in my world on an ordinary day is a pretty darn good deal. I woke up this morning in addition to the luxury of a soft bed that I call my own, beneath crisp, inviting sheets, floral pattern, a clean, cozy blanket in a warm, familiar home next to someone who happens to love and care for me. Despite the chronic arthritis in my knees and an eternally sore lower back, and who doesn't have things to complain about, I was able to get out of bed this morning, gingerly creak my way to the kitchen, and pour myself that first aromatic cup of steaming coffee, the elixir of the gods. Ready and waiting for me thanks to that little timer on that Mr. Coffee that turns on 20 minutes before I get up. What a miracle. And then I moved to my soft favorite chair in our little light-bathed condo in Washington, and between welcoming sips of coffee, quietly opened the familiar pages of the Washington Post and New York Times. I don't know how I would do without them, find my way through my world, and I devoured the news, thereby staying in touch with my vulnerable and complicated world. And yes, looking at the comics, not in the New York Times, they're too sophisticated for that, but in the Post, thank God, good cartoons. Later, at my cozy dining room table, I enjoyed 2 halves of a buttered English muffin with gobs of aromatic blackberry preserves and ice-cold milk, all of which were terribly pleasing to my palate. Preparing for my day at work and how blessed I am to have a job. And by the way, yesterday I was offered my next job at Unitarian Church North in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They want me, so I come here pre-fired. Your search committee is out interviewing people right now. I come pre-fired. I'm on the way out the door, but I'm going to stay employed because at 73 I see no reason to stop. But I'm grateful for this job. In addition, this morning, I shaved my face and head, brushed my teeth, took my daily medications, who doesn't have a few of those, drew a hot bath to get my knees working better, and then got dressed and hopped in the car, zipped up the freeway because there's nobody out on Sunday morning, 23 minutes, 23 miles. I arrived at church, safe and sound, and busily I'm here first, I'm always here first, making the sanctuary right, cleaning up a few leaves outside, greeting all of you as you dribble in, and now leading worship in this wonderful room, and with all you people who are so characteristically kind and appreciative. And I can look forward later this afternoon, after another bite of eat, to a 35-mile bike ride, yes, even in the rain, up Rock Creek Parkway. It'll be just great. The clean air snapping in and out of my lungs, the exhilaration of my muscles pumping and the pounding of my heart, the stark winter beauty of the trees against the sky, even the steel gray sky, looking at all the busy squirrels and darting birds and even some other people out in the rain, rollerblading or running or walking. As if all this weren't enough to make someone grateful and satisfied as a human being, there's even more to be thankful in my world on this ordinary day when I pause and think about all my human relationships that animate the tapestry of my life. My heart swells with the realization that I have a close, caring circle of family and dear longtime friends who for some reason love and enjoy me, and an even wider circle of acquaintances, co-workers, colleagues, parishioners, and countless strangers even, who appreciate and respect and interact with me. In my 73rd year of living, I am held gently, faithfully, and invisibly in a kind and nurturing web of human relationships that's not really of my own making, but is among the greatest gifts anyone can possess. I am grateful that I am not alone on this earth. There's a movie or two about that. The person finds themselves all alone in the entire world. No fun, no thanks. Look, I live in a world of so many charming and interesting souls, some irritating, I grant you that, but mostly charming and interesting. What's more, I, as you, live in a miraculous natural world that even on the coldest and most challenging of days is incredibly beautiful and charming and hospitable. Rather amazing, don't you think, isn't it, that through no merit of our own, we find ourselves adorned, in a creation adorned with spectacular rainbows and sunsets, cascading rivers and ocean beaches, hushed snowstorms. Is there anything more beautiful? Gentle summer rain showers, inviting forests, billowing clouds, singing birds. Yes, there are hurricanes and earthquakes and crocodiles and rattlesnakes and mosquitoes. It can't be a perfect world. Not to mention dangerous viruses and cancers. But when you take creation all together in the sum of things, even a pessimist must admit that it's a pretty darn hospitable place for us. And there's even more on this morning for me to be grateful about. Each day, here in the most abundant country on earth, I have enough food to eat, enough liquid to drink, a roof over my head, enough clothing to keep me comfortable. There's no such thing as bad biking weather, only inadequate clothing. I have reasonably good eyes, which permit me to read poetry and see sunsets. I have a nose that allows me to take in all of creation's intriguing aromas, and ears that are not once as keen as they were, though, nonetheless enable me to hear the manifold music of this world. And I have a brain, again, a reasonably functioning piece of hardware, which most of the time is connected coherently to my mouth in ways that allow me to express myself and communicate meaningfully to others in my world. And worsening arthritis aside, I have legs that carry me wherever I choose on two artificial knees, and hands with which I can touch the world, and lips that let me talk and kiss and smile, and a body that, well, most of the time is still a happy old friend. All of this is mine, and I am grateful for it. There you have a catalog of who I am in my world. Now, don't get me wrong. Like all human beings, of course, I have my share of complaints and caveats about the way things are working out or not working out for me in this creation. And I'd be happy, without much urging on some other occasion, maybe to painstakingly catalog for you all of my complaints about the world. But I'm going to spare you those this morning. I don't know, on this ordinary day at least, I simply want to affirm with full and grateful heart the overarching truth and blessing of my life. All in all, I have much to be grateful for. Mine is a life of true abundance, a life in a rich and unusually gentle creation, and I know deep to my heart that I am a lucky person. And what about you on this ordinary February day in the winter of 2023? How does this calm winter day find it with your spirit? When you spiritually pause to think about the overall shape and substance of your life, you know, the big picture, not the quibbles in the corner, but the big picture. How are you doing? And even a more important question, what are some of the everyday aspects and predictable, unostentatious elements of your life for which you are grateful. I hope that your heart is able to come up with a list that at least somewhat resembles mine. For surely we are all blessed to some degree or another in countless big and small ways as we make our way through this rich and interesting and, yes, of course, challenging creation. This much I know and will affirm to you this morning without any spiritual hesitation. Gratitude, everyday gratitude for the gifts and graces of this life that we have been given, is one of the most important spiritual possessions any one of us can possess. First slide. Gratitude is one of the most essential gateways. This is the fourth version of my sermon series on 12 Gates to the City, Spiritual Pathways for Entering the Holy City of Your Own Life. Gratitude is one of the essential gateways to the full and satisfied human heart. And thus I return again to the image that animates this whole sermon series. Simple, everyday gratitude is a gateway, an entrance point into the deepest, most satisfying part of your life. Next picture, Reverend L.P. Jacks. The great 20th century British philosopher and Unitarian minister, L.P. Jacks, once went as far to say, and I think he was absolutely right, religion is primarily an affair of gratitude. Religion is primarily an affair of gratitude. And similarly, it was Catholic mystic Thomas Merton who said, if you manage only one prayer in your entire life, and that prayer is simply thank you, it will be sufficient. Actually, I prefer the rather pointed way. The same thing is affirmed in my favorite Walt Kelly Pogo cartoon. Now, I realize that dates me because Walt Kelly hasn't been making cartoons. Here's a collage of all of his characters down in the Okefenokee Swamp. And in my favorite strip of all times, the little turtle character, Churchy La Femme, he's in the boat there, if you can see it. He's sitting in this strip with his friend Porcupine in that leaky little boat of theirs, in that leaky little swamp, and he's reading the newspaper, and it says, sun to burn out in 3 billion years, ending all life. And in the next panel, he's crying these big tears, saying, woe is me, I'm too young to die. To which the ever-wise Porcupine remands, ah, shut up, you're lucky to be here in the first place. That's the message. Ah, shut up. You're lucky to be here in the first place. As far as I'm spiritually concerned, that humorous but blunt statement pretty much sums up our existential condition on this planet. No matter what gripes and grievances you might have about how your particular life is going, no matter how long your personal list is of the ways in which this world will not devote itself to your personal, total satisfaction, the truth is that difficulties aside, and I never want to minimize those, you're pretty lucky to just be here in the first place. As my colleague, the Reverend Dr. Forrest Church, once famously proclaimed, and now I paraphrase him, there are 1,000 million reasons why you shouldn't be here. There were 1,000 million things that could have led to a world where you would never have been born. When you think about it, he went on, it's an absolute miracle that you are here in the first place. What an unlikely turn of events out of all the possibilities that you are here. Be grateful for that. He didn't say shut up. He just said be grateful for that. And theologian Matthew Fox similarly writes about the spiritual importance of gratitude even in the face of hardship. He writes, gratitude changes our lives. It fills us with energy and vitality. When I was 12 years old, I contracted polio and could not walk for 6 months. The doctors could not reassure me I would ever walk again. And as it turned out, I did get my legs back. But I learned a lesson in the process I have never forgotten. Don't take for granted. I had taken my legs for granted. Legs that worked, legs that run and play ball, legs that take me exactly where I want to. When my legs returned to me, I was filled with gratitude. Not gratitude for the miracle of my legs being healed, but rather my gratitude for having legs at all in the first place. I was filled, he writes, with energy and I promised myself that I would never again waste my legs for as long as I lived. As I thought in preparation for the sermon about everyday gratitude, I came up with the 3 G's, and here they are. The first G, well, maybe we don't have that. Eventually we will. I'll just say it anyway. There it is. Okay. This is about gratitude. The first G stands for having gratitude in the first place. Every day, heartfelt, enriching appreciation, like the inventory I recited to you, for all the many blessings that come our way unbidden and undeserved and sustain us. The second G stands for not holding grudges. Against others, yes, but in the general term, against life itself. The polar opposite of gratitude, it seems to me, is begrudging life for all the ways, again, that it is unwilling to devote itself to your total personal happiness. I must admit that over the nearly 50 years of my ministry, I have known a handful of human beings who have fallen victim to the tragic and diminishing spiritual stance of just being miserable because everything hasn't worked out just the way they imagined it. I have known a few sad people, and yes, usually angry ones, who wake up every morning and catalog all the ways in which their glass is half empty. But I'm not going to devote much energy this morning to trying to persuade you, if that's your inclination of the heart, out of that. I don't know how to do that. Luckily, not many of you in this congregation seem to fall into that spiritually unhappy place. And those who do, I don't really want to try to talk you out of it, because it's, for some people, they get mileage out of being unhappy. I don't understand it, but they get mileage out of it. Maybe they get attention. I don't know. What I'm more concerned about today is the far more dangerous and prevalent spiritual trap, and that's the final G of taking for granted. We get into the biggest problem with seeing our lives for the astounding luxury and opportunity that they are when we fall victim to taking for granted. Taking for granted is spiritually falling asleep at the helm of your own life. Next slide. Spiritually falling asleep at the helm of your own life. When you take the fundamentals of your everyday life for granted, you can miss the incredible opportunity around you. Taking for granted is a kind of numbing spiritual passivity that renders us unmindful and therefore ultimately ungrateful for the everyday miracle of human life. Now, it's probably the ordinariness of our day-to-day existence which gets us into this problem. Listen to these words by American essayist Cynthia in her essay, The Riddle of the Ordinary. She points out how we human beings quite naturally often fail to express gratitude for our ordinary blessings. The ordinary, she writes, the ordinary, by making itself so noticeable, it's around us all the time, has gotten itself in a bad spiritual fix with us. We hardly ever notice it. The ordinary, simply by being so ordinary, tends to make us ignorant of it or neglectful. When something does not insist on being noticed, when we aren't grabbed by the collar or struck on the noggin by a presence or an event, we take for granted the very things that most deserve our gratitude. And this, she writes, is the chief and deepest point concerning the ordinary. It does deserve our gratitude. And then she concludes, the ordinary is above all what is expected, and what is expected is not often thought of as a gift. Finally, I like the way my colleague Roy Phillips, he was my minister when I was an adolescent in Racine, Wisconsin, he once put this in a column in St. Paul, Minnesota at Unity Church, and he was speaking to the members of that congregation. This is it, my friends. This is the day you've been waiting for. If my words come to you when you are down in the dumps, you may ask, what's so special about today? Well, we notice the specialness of this day when we consider the imaginable opposite, no day, that is, unlife, non-being, death. Right now, he went on, your chest rises and falls. Air streams in and out of your lungs. Blood courses through your veins. You are aware. You are alive. But there is this that I am worried about, and there's that which troubles me, and there are these things going on today in my life which keep me from enjoying my world, myself, other people. And then Phillips concludes, I don't want to be hard on you, but I must say it. If you plan to wait fully until a day comes when there are no obstacles, no hardships, no irritations, then you will wait past your time for waiting. Life is to be lived and enjoyed now, in this time, right now, in the midst of all this imperfection and troublesome circumstance. This is it. This is the day you have been waiting for. Yes, dear you friends of Reston, this is not just some ordinary, dull, soon-to-be rainy day in the midwinter in Northern Virginia. I know it's trite, but this is the first day of the rest of your life. Being grateful, deep to the heart, for the chance we have so miraculously to just hang around this creation for a while is a gateway to the holy city of your own life. In the Gospel of Thomas, you know this, Sterling. In the Gospel of Thomas, one of the ancient narratives about the life of Jesus, which was edited out by some editors who didn't like its message. In the Gospel of Thomas, it is reported that one of the disciples asked, Jesus, when will the kingdom of God come? And Jesus responded, it will not come by watching for it. It will not be said, look here or look there. Rather, the kingdom of God is spread out upon the earth and people do not see it. Rather, the kingdom of God is spread out upon the earth and people do not see it. Jesus, of course, was right. The kingdom of God is available to us, and some people don't see it. If you take your life for granted, or worse, begrudge life for not devoting itself to every whim you have for happiness, you will not see the holy kingdom that is already all around you. And if you do not see it, it will not be able to bless you or sustain you or make your days purposeful or glad. So on this ordinary winter day in little old Reston, Virginia, please hold this truth close to your heart. We are saved when we quietly cultivate gratitude in our everyday life. For gratitude, simple, heartfelt gratitude, is a gateway to the holiness that is within you and that sings all around you. Jesus was right. The kingdom of God is spread out upon the earth, and people do not see it. Amen.
closing hymn today is number 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing. Life is the greatest gift of all, the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mind is the brightest gift of all, its thoughts no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its quest surmounts all bars. So rain the wind, it chains the storm, it weighs the outmost stars. We are of life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings.
And I send you on your way this week with these ancient words of Marcus Aurelius. Remember how long you have procrastinated and how persistently you have failed to put to good use your suspended sentence from the gods. It is about time you realize the nature of the universe of which you are a part, and of the power that rules it, of which your part owes its existence. Your days are numbered. Use them to throw open the windows of your soul to the sun. If you do not, the sun will soon set, and you with it. Harsh words, but true. Amen. Have a good week.
As we now come to the close of our service, it is time to extinguish our flame. However, we do not extinguish the light of truth, nor the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. These things we carry forth with us until we are together again.
what wonderful music and what a wonderful sermon. Thank you to everybody involved. Now's the time that we invite our congregants attending Zoom worship to join the virtual Greet Your Neighbors for a virtual coffee hour, and you can discuss the sermon today, or you can just enjoy fellowship with one another. The link will be in the chat box and in the forthcoming slide. We also hope that you will use the chat box as a virtual receiving line to leave a message about your appreciation for today's worship service. Those of us in person, we have coffee and fellowship out those doors right after service, so please join us for that. We're going to be leaving the chairs as they were at the beginning of the service, so we ask you not to stack the chairs. Everybody have a great rest of your Sunday, and if you are watching Super Bowl, enjoy that as well.